get a motion to move to appoint chair, please?
Move to appoint Lou.
Second.
Motion to appoint Lou, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Lou, it's yours.
We have one small issue to vote on, and that's the approval for used vehicle purchase for Hagerstown Police Department. If there's a motion.
That's a motion to go to special session for action.
Oh, we haven't done that yet?
We moved, oh, no, move to go to special session.
Need a motion to go into special session.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Now we need to go to, so we're in special session, need to have a motion for approval of used vehicle purchase for Hagerstown Police Department.
I hereby move for mayor and council approval of the purchase of a used vehicle from Hagerstown Ford for $24,515 to replace a police vehicle that was damaged in an accident. This purchase will be made with funds from insurance claims for previously destroyed vehicles. Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion? Having heard none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Move to go out of special session, please.
And motion to go out of special session,
So moved.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
It's all yours, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. All right, next up is the work session. We have a proclamation for Economic Development Week 2020. Hi, guys. All right, first off, I want to say, you guys, your department has been extremely busy, and you are having great success. And we all see it, and I'm sure that every citizen sees the progress that we're making here in the city of Hagerstown. And it's because of the dedication of that staff down there. So the proclamation is for Economic Development Week, October 19th to the 23rd, 2020, whereas the City of Hagerstown's Department of Community and Economic Development is an active member of the Maryland Economic Development Association, a nonprofit organization established in 1961 whose mission is to enhance the knowledge and skills of its members and to encourage partnerships and networking among those committed to bringing jobs and investment to Maryland. And whereas MEDA members promote this economic well-being of Maryland by working to improve the state's business climate and the professionalism of those in the field of economic development, including other professionals with an interest in the economy of Maryland. And through its regular meetings, special programs, and projects, members address diverse issues. And whereas the economic growth and stability of the state affects all regions and jurisdictions of Maryland, and the City of Hagerstown is an important component of the state's economic success. Now therefore, I, Robert E. Brucci, the second mayor of the City of Hagerstown, Maryland, hereby proclaim the week of October 19th to the 23rd, 2020 as Economic Development Week in Hagerstown, and encourage all citizens to recognize and reaffirm the importance of business development locally and statewide. So thank you very much. Notice how I handed that in the middle, and it didn't matter who grabbed it.
I will reach for this one.
All right.
First of all, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would just want to thank a variety of people during Economic Development Week, starting with city staff. A large amount of everybody sitting in this room helps us with everything in economic development, and we could not do our jobs without you, whether it's fit tests, public works, code. They're always involved, and they help us do our job better. Review committee, can't thank you guys enough. Mayor and city council, you support us in everything we do. Again, economic development thrives because of your help and your appreciation of our department and everybody who helps us. Lastly, I'd say our businesses and our community members who support us, support Hagerstown, continue to grow, share their ideas and their businesses and everything Hagerstown has to offer with everybody else. We have new businesses reaching out to us on the weekly basis. So without their help and the city's help, we'd be nothing. So thank you to everybody.
She covered it, that's pretty good.
You've been known to have one?
I do.
And then make sure my nose is covered, okay?
I did too.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Mr. Mayor, before you go any further, just a recognition that Jill Thompson would have been here. She's up taking care of her father who's ill, and I just want to make sure she gets some recognition too as director of the department and the great job she's been doing.
As she should, yes
Thank you.
indeed, yeah. Well, our best wishes for her father. All right, next up is the preliminary agenda review. As always, stop me if you need to. We'll call the session to order, the invocation, the pledge of the flag, the announcements. Meeting schedules in November. There's no meeting on November 3rd, yay. The 10th, we have a meet with the Washington County delegation, and I believe that's at noon, is it not?
I've not heard.
You haven't heard the time yet, okay. Then a work session at 4 p.m. On the 12th, an informational orientation session at the Borough Box, time to be discussed. On the 17th is a regular session at 7 p.m. On the 23rd is the oath of office to the new administration, and we'll figure out the time and the location for that. And on the 24th is the first work session of the new administration. So busy November. We'll have some comments. Again, you're more than welcome to come and comment in person, or to send your comments in via email, no later than 5 p.m. on Tuesday, October 27th. We'll adopt the minutes of September 1st, the 15th, 17th, 22nd, and the 29th. On the consent agenda, we have finance and billing, utility billing, postage and bill processing, Arista Information Systems, Duluth, Georgia, $144,000. Information Technology and Support Services, Building Block Software Renewal, Opportunity Space, Inc., doing business as Tolemi, out of Boston, Massachusetts, for $12,000. Under the Department of Parks and Engineering, the 2021 Annual Independence Day Fireworks Display from Zambelli Fireworks, Warren, PA, not to exceed $25,000. Under Planning and Code Administration, Snow and Ice Abatement Contract, ServTech, Custodial, Inc., out of Hagerstown, Maryland, for $30,000. Under the Police Department, the AVCC Annual Subscription Fee from LexisNexis, Chicago, Illinois, $17,199. Under the Department of Public Works, Bulk Road Salt, Cargill, Inc., North Olmsted, Ohio, $58.94 per ton. Under Utilities, Water, we have the RCW Water Treatment Plant HMI Upgrades, ABB, Inc., Cleveland, Ohio, for $304,487. Under unfinished business, the approval of an ordinance, the Sailor House Landmark Overlay, the approval of an ordinance, sanitary sewer easement, North Point Development LLC, the approval of an ordinance, transfer of the Stormwater Pond and Professional Boulevard to the city. Isn't it great what's happening out there with the bridge and all that? It's really coming along. It's fantastic. On a new business, introduction of an ordinance, 170 West Washington Street, introduction of an ordinance, quick claim of 352 Summit Avenue, introduction of an ordinance, code amendments, chapter 82, discriminatory practices. The material will be presented. Introduction of an ordinance, UIP land acquisition, the approval of resolution, a renewal of a user agreement with the Hagerstown Fairgrounds Softball Association, the approval of resolution, a renewal of the user agreement with the Hagerstown Area Police Athletic League, the approval of resolution, alter traffic flow by making alley 1-76 one-way southbound and alley 1-77 one-way westbound. The approval of resolution, a community legacy grant application, the approval of resolution, strategic demolition grant application, the approval of resolution, the agreement for salt purchase from the state of Maryland, the approval of addition of farmers market to CNS, the approval of acceptance of 2020 to 2021 recruitment and retention grant for Hagerstown Police Department, the approval of the after-school program, the BTJ dance class after-school program, Hagerstown Housing Authority, $3,500. The approval of the after-school program at the Parkside Community Center, Hagerstown Housing Authority, $18,881. Under new business continue, the approval of a contractor selection process for the Community Legacy Grant funded project for First Hose Company, 33 South Potomac Street. The approval of funding for a community coalition lobbyist, and the approval of property abatement fund expenditure for the demolition of 341 Jonathan Street. Any questions, comments, concerns?
I have three, Mayor,
Okay.
and they're each very brief. The first is, and these are just for clarification, the transfer of the quitclaim, 352 Summit Avenue. I'm just going to make an assumption that 350 didn't want any parts of it. Okay, that's good enough. The second is, and this isn't for this evening, and I realize this is a little bit late in the game, but the differentiation, because it used to be grant funded through the C-Safe program, the differentiation between the conversation we had last week about general fund expenditures for entities, and the two we're about to approve for the BTJ dance group and the after-school program at Parkside Community Center. I could just see the correlation. If we're saying no to 16 other organizations, you know, we're easily saying yes to these two, and they're coming out of the general fund no differently than the funding that comes out of the general fund for those other organizations that we've said we're going to hold off with. So I just think that there may be a little bit of a conflict there that would need clarification. Certainly not opposed to it, certainly in support of both. I see the conflict arising if we're going to say no to some and not others, when they both come from the same funding source.
Scott, you want to get some information for us next week? Thank you.
The third item is the approval of funding for a community coalition lobbyist. Just seeking clarification for who, if anyone, from the city, because I know we're all sort of invited and everything's sort of virtual at this time, and so people are hopping in and out. And I'm going to send this out in an email tomorrow, because I read the 2021 Community Coalition Agenda Update summaries, and so there were two items that were city-specific, the downtown project and the Jonathan Street Community Project. And so I'm just wondering how we're relaying back information to that group on those items that are so specific to the city, whether we're supposed to funnel that through a specific staff, we're supposed to funnel that through a liaison of mayor and council.
I usually attend those meetings, so you
Okay.
can send it through me.
Okay,
And Austin goes as well.
all right. That's all I have.
Okay. Anybody else? So moving on, removal of parking meters from select parking lots. Eric.
Yeah, good afternoon. So, as you all know, recently we began using a phone app or another process, contactless paying for parking meters, which is pay by phone. And what we found was the adoption rate's been pretty good. A lot of people are using it. So we wanted to test the waters a little bit further by taking the parking meters off a few select parking lots, which would be the Antietam lot, which is a small 18, well, about 22 spaces, I'm sorry, over by the district courthouse. The Rochester parking lot, which is a pretty large lot, but there's only about 21 spaces that use parking meters. The market lot, which is the largest parking lot, but the majority of it's used by the Postal Service and others that have permits. The revenue there is only about $1,500 a year. And then the Bryan Center parking lot, which is a very small lot that we rent. That's only 6 spaces, 5 are metered, across from the post office. I included some photos, and some locations, because some of those may not be that familiar to you. Some are a little, off the beaten path a little bit. So we want to take the meters off those parking lots and have it exclusively serviced by pay by phone. That helps us a number of ways, especially Antietam lot. It gets vandalized kind of on a regular basis. If for some reason or another that I don't know, it's just location seems to get hit more often than not. But taking the meters off, there's no coins there to steal. There's nothing there to vandalize. And most of these places have some other options. The Antietam lot has the private parking lot close to us. If you don't want to pay here, you can use a credit card at the private lot. The Rochester lot, there's street parking, so you can still use cash around it. The Bryan Center lot, you certainly have street parking. It still has cash, that you can use cash. The market lot is the only one that doesn't have alternate parking really close to it, but again, it's not used heavily by cash sales. The on-street parking would remain as is. You could use cash or pay by phone. The decks would not change. The central lot would not change. So that's what we're asking for, is to move a little further into the 21st century, I guess, and just use the pay by phone.
The only comment I have, I think it's, it's progress, and that it certainly does away with the temptation for people to steal the coins. The only one I would have any concern about is possibly leaving some pay meters in the market parking
Yeah.
lot. Because I know there's some older people that go to the market and may not be tech savvy and not want to use the.
Yeah,
the
we certainly
phone.
can. The market's only open on Saturday and parking's free, so it
That's
doesn't
true.
really
Okay,
affect
never
that.
mind.
But
You're
we could
right.
leave,
You're
we could
right.
leave a few in there. I mean, that's.
No, you're right. I was thinking about the free parking on.
Right, I
Saturday.
mean, on Saturday, it's free anyway,
Yeah,
so it
okay.
didn't seem to affect it. Most of it's people going possibly to the, maybe to the post office, they park there and walk to the front street, or there's a liquor store right across the street, so but it's, again, the revenues there are pretty low for cash sales. We didn't think it was much of a risk to take those out.
Okay.
Eric, two things. One, in the district court parking lot,
Yes,
there are at least, I think, 2 meters next to the handicap meters
correct.
that are not set up for pay by phone.
Yeah, I think we were short on stickers.
Okay.
Yeah, we're working on that.
Okay.
We missed a couple, that was 2 of them.
The other thing that you may not be able to do anything about, but, if somebody comes downtown and has a 9 o'clock appointment with an office,
Yes,
or an 8:45 appointment,
yeah,
they want to park at the meter and use pay by phone, the pay by phone won't accept it until 9 o'clock. So you can't at 8:45 put 2 hours in your meter.
okay.
I don't know if that can be changed.
Probably, we can look at that. We set the hours in it to the hours on the meters.
Right.
So that somebody didn't pay at 8:30, where they could, see, the advantage would be, hey, I only have to pay for the time it actually is in place. Whereas if you're paying cash right now and you have a 9 o'clock, you're gonna put money in.
If you have the quarters.
Yeah, so it's free till 9 o'clock, but now you're paying ahead of time, so,
But the problem is, if
As-
you got to be in court at 9 o'clock.
yeah, I see what you're saying.
So you get there at 20 of 9, and
Yeah.
you go to put 2 hours in the meter.
Yeah.
And you can't do it.
Okay, we could probably back that up. We could probably have pay by phone, adjust the hours.
That'd
on-
probably be, even though the hours are 9, you could adjust that
Yeah.
date. Those my
We'll
own.
just make it 24/7. They want to pay all the time, we'll take it.
Saturday still.
Saturdays too. I'm all for revenue, so. Any other questions?
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Rodney, the urban improvement project, update of funding and land acquisition negotiations.
Good afternoon. We last discussed this about a year ago, and I wanted to update you on a couple important accomplishments that we've been able to work through over that time. The first is that for the urban improvement project, the plaza, and the completion of the cultural trail from Antietam Street up to Washington Street, we've been able to work with the Board of Education in the county to acquire approximately $650,000 in additional bond bill funds. These funds were proceeds that were of a bond bill that were left over from the Barbara Ingram School construction. The Board of Ed has already passed a agreement to release that. The county approved it this morning, so we just need to have an agreement we just need to pass it on our end, and that additional funding then can go to this project to complete the plaza and the cultural trail. That also allows us now to finalize some of the land acquisition work, specifically with Hager 5. Hager 5 owns 4347 and some other properties over there. that in the attached draft purchase agreement, Exhibit B, I think is the best source to see exactly what needs to be acquired to be able to complete the project. The agreement that's attached, the draft agreement that's attached, contemplates paying them the appraised value for their property, $15 a square foot, which they've accepted. It also reimburses them for work that they've done to move the project along, like demolishing 4347, reimburses them for that. Reimburses them for work that they did initially way back at the beginning of this project to get some concepts going, some legal work done, and those things together are all outlined in the purchase agreement. Again, the map, Exhibit B, shows you the properties that we would be acquiring. The purchase agreement has several closing conditions in it that if any of these things don't come through to fruition, then it's null and void. And they include things like acquiring that, at least half of that paper alley on the west side of District Court, where the cultural trail would come from across Antietam Street up to behind the Maryland Theater into the plaza. We feel like we have that being worked out with the state of Maryland after a couple years of discussions with them and finally getting headway on that. And the attorneys are working on that. So we think that's moving forward. We need to get an easement from the county for the back of 33 West Washington Street to allow the plaza to be constructed there. And then a couple other things that are in there as out conditions. Yeah, so the things that we would be left to do after this, what we're suggesting to you is that this would be introduced at your regular session next week. And then things that would be left to do would be the subrecipient agreement with the county for the additional funds, whatever agreements or easements we need to obtain from the county, and also the district court alley issue. So some of those things will move into early next year, I'm sure. But this would get it started and just kind of lays out the plan for moving forward to get the project completed, hopefully in the summer of 2021. Cool.
Great.
So do you have questions?
Any questions from anybody? Chris?
Sounds like everybody's making out on this deal, so no.
Thank you, Rodney. Update on the Cascades Tissue Group. Welcome, Nathan and Nancy.
Good afternoon, thank you. Provide this body with an update on the Cascades Tissue Group. As you know, the Cascades has requested that the city release them of all lease obligations and purchase power obligations in relation to the substation and the land that it resides on. We sent them a letter dated October 7th at the direction of this council to ask them to provide the city with all debt obligations as of this date, which includes the loan principal payment and the remainder of the minimum net revenue guarantee. That amount is $879,735.80. As of today, at about 1:30, Cascades has provided the city with a letter accepting that arrangement. And following their proposed settlement, which the settlement date is set for October 30th, as long as everything goes through properly, Jason Morton will begin a settlement agreement with them, and hopefully this will conclude everything.
Cool. Great job. Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for snatching up that other $79,735.80.
Thank you.
Moving along. Review of the farmer's market property, 25 West Church Street, and possible addition to the competitive negotiating sale program.
Good afternoon. We would like to request mayor and council feedback and possible approval to add the city's farmers market property to the competitive negotiated sale process. As with numerous properties that have been city-owned and added to the CNS process, the goal is to explore opportunities to possibly resell city-owned property to the private sector for highest and best use. As we go through the valuation process of city-owned property, we had conducted appraisal of the farmers market building, and then we had a separate land appraisal report done for the farmers market parking lot areas. All of that totaled almost $1 million, $970,000. We do understand we have the farmers market operation obviously still underway at the city's farmers market property, and of course the Hagerstown Fire Department offices in the north half of the building. We've communicated with clear communication to Chief Lure about the potential of adding the property to the competitive negotiated sale list. Chief Lure did not express any concern. He felt that if it's something that would impact their operations at some point, we could have that as part of the negotiation scenario with a potential buyer for the property. Similar to the Hager Center, which I think Doug had worked to add that to the CNS list within the last 12 months. There's a statement in that CNS listing that any potential offer for the Hager Center would have to consider the operations of the city in that property. And again, Chief Lure, he did not express any concern with adding the property to the list. So at this point in time, we've also given the vendors a heads up about the discussions and potentially adding the property to the CNS program. And we would ask the mayor and council's feedback and possible approval to add the property to the list to potentially market for sale to the private sector.
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and chime in because I'm in this seat. I'm not against adding it to the negotiated sale process. I am against having this body make a decision now when 30 days from now there'll be a new body that may even have other ideas about that property. I can see the benefit of recovering funds for that property that could be used elsewhere, like for a new fire station and things like that. But again, I'd like to see us leave it to the next administration.
I find it, I guess the value is the value. I guess I find it difficult to believe the value is what is asserted here at almost $1 million. But I guess it is a big space. I don't think anybody would offer that level of commitment for it. I have no issue though adding it. I think that properties such as this should be added to our list and made available for consideration. We ultimately, as the elected body, get to determine at the end of the day whether we feel as an elected body that it's a good deal, for the city and for the citizens that have ownership of the properties that we manage on their behalf. And so, regardless of what body is sitting up here, that body gets to make that decision at that time, of those deliberations. So I just don't see the need to hold off on adding this piece of property to that process, because ultimately whoever's here is gonna say, yeah, we're good with that deal, or no, you know what, it's no good for us, we're heading in another direction. No differently than any other property owner makes that decision when they offer their own property up for sale.
Have we heard anything else at all about a grocery store? I know that Goodwill was working toward, and
That was definitely a conversation at one point.
right.
I
Do we
haven't
have
heard anything,
no updates?
no.
We can check in with Jordy Newman and Brooke Grossman as they were working on that initiative. And at the time, I believe the plan was for the property close to the farmer's market, an adjacent property, which seemed like it was gaining traction, but we haven't heard any updates recently, so we can look into that and report back.
I agree with putting it on for bid. I mean, we always have the option to not accept the offer if they try to lowball an offer for it. I just look at what the cost of maintenance of the building is and is going to be into the future, and I don't think the city needs to be in that business. And I would rather see, I'd rather see it continued as some sort of a facility that supports the city and supports activities like a farmer's market. But at the end of the day, I think it's time.
And to reiterate what Councilman Alshire and Councilman Heffernan said, that is correct. Adding to the list is essentially exploring those opportunities for offers and potential private sale, but ultimately the administration in place would have the final decision on selling the property. Staff would review applications and bring them forth to the administration, and the council and mayor would have that final decision to move forward with a potential property sale.
Any word from the side of the room?
I mean, you're right, we get to make the decision if an offer comes in at a high price like this, so, or the grocery store or whatever. So, I mean, I'm okay with, what did the vendor say?
Initially, there was just a brief communication sent to alert them to this discussion that would be occurring today. And again, it was, I think what I had said earlier, it's exploratory. It's saying we are formally adding it to the list, marketing the property for potential sale. It says it doesn't necessarily mean a sale was imminent, and if eventually the property would go under contract as decided by the administration at that time, we would obviously, I think, be making those types of decisions at that time. And even, as they're exploring options of shifting the farmer's market to a different location, is there other opportunities for that? So it was, again, I think just to say the discussion's occurring, it doesn't mean the property's going to sell tomorrow. And again, that it's, at this time, I think more exploratory to seek potential private offers for the property's highest and best use. And I think there was maybe one communication with Kitty Clark that was just, I think, asking a few questions. So that's all we have at this time on the vendor communication.
Okay.
I won't be here, but I agree with both Bob and Kristen. This next administration should make the decision, but that decision won't be made until somebody comes in with an offer. So I don't think there's any problem putting it on, especially when this is a piece of property that we've tried to do everything in the world to figure out how to make a go of it, except this. So let's throw in the whole thing and try this. We may get surprised and find there's somebody comes forth with a great use for it that we really like a grocery store.
Okay, so it'll be on next week anyway.
Okay.
Figure out next week.
We will have it on for a regular session. Thank you.
All right. We might as well stay there and let's talk about 170 West Washington.
Turn that over. Yes, your turn.
How unexpected.
So Caitlin has been working on this with Trademark Investments as a potential property purchaser for the 170 West Washington Street property. And if Caitlin maybe wants to run down the competitive negotiated sale process, review committee recommendation and the next steps from there, and answer any questions that the mayor and city council may have.
As we just quickly discussed, when a property is put onto the CNS list, we are able to accept applications for said property. We do take it to mayor and city council in executive session and give you the basic details, purchase price offers and things of that nature. So at this point, Mr. Pat Grace from Baltimore has sent in an application that we feel is very viable for this property. And he would like to move forward along with us with the sale of the property at 170 West Washington Street. Some details of the purchase are on the agenda, and they are as follows. The purchase price he is currently offering is $1,000. Realtor commissions are $0. There is a $500 deposit required for the contract, and he has a planned investment of at least $1.143 095 for the property renovations to then maintain as a mixed-use building, including a commercial space and using it as downtown student housing at market rate rents. At this time, the developer is going to submit a final plan for city council approval by December 31st to make sure that the standards of the building are still acceptable by the council at that time, that he still plans to use it as a mixed-use space. At this point, he will be submitting an application for Invest Hagerstown, likely the Life and Safety Infrastructure Grant, as well as our student housing RFP. The settlement is to occur before February 28th, 2021, and Mr. Grace will be using 170 West Washington Partners LLC for the property acquisition. As I mentioned, he is located in Baltimore, and he is a very experienced developer in that area, notable for his historic developments and making some very, very old buildings back into a magic part of the city. Attached is a draft purchase agreement that Jason Morton has helped us go through, and it outlines all of the plans in which we will be going through with him and details that he is required to mention to you and lead you through by December 31st. Some basic background of 170. You'll notably know what building it is, currently orange and brown. Not sure what the new color concept is yet, but to come. It was built in the 1890s. And after being quite a few spaces, taking shape into a hotel motel, condemning in 2005, going back into bank ownership and things of that nature, the city did purchase the property in 2013 and has the intention of making it back into private ownership, which is something that we would be doing with acceptance of his application and contract.
Yay.
Yes.
Yes.
Magical part of
That's all I
the
could
city.
say.
I'll take it.
Any questions?
Not a single one.
No.
So our next steps would be introduction of the ordinance during regular session. I believe we are looking at then approval of the ordinance for November's regular session, and then after the 30-day wait period, execute the contract with Mr. Grace. He is mobilizing right now. I think once the introduction of the ordinance is passed, he's working with then locking in his architectural concepts and producing the final detailed concepts to produce to Mayor and City Council for final approval for the settlement contingency.
Cool. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. We're excited to see this move.
Me too. Kitty Clark, you're up. City sponsorship.
Good afternoon, everybody. So here this afternoon to seek direction on FY21 sponsorships. As you likely know, the Department of Community and Economic Development provides sponsorships to support events in the city that have a positive impact on local businesses and also provide benefits to the citizens. The current budgeted amount in the FY21 budget is $41,500, but some events in this fiscal year have already been canceled, and the current request amount is about $22,000, which is slightly different than what the spreadsheet is that was in your packet, because since that was submitted, had a conversation with EJ Fuller at the Boys and Girls Club, who's doing the Over the Edge event this coming Saturday. Likely not going to do it again in April. So that's, he had originally requested $3,000 for an April event, but of course that all got reconfigured. And the other thing that has been updated is that the Maryland Theater did put in a formal request for sponsorship for their revised Donut Drop, which is now called the Donut Drive-By event. And they've only requested $5,000. And in the past several years, they've asked for $10,000 for the Donut Drop event. So when you subtract Over the Edge and put 5 in for Maryland Theater, it's 22. So I think we have basically 3 options, general options for direction. One would be that we honor the requests that have received and we pay out the 22. Or we can fund the request in part and have a dollar figure as a cap. Or we could just not provide sponsorships at all in FY21. So that's what I'm here to find out from you.
When is the latest that we can push this to, and not impact their
Their event?
their ability to carry out the event?
So I think the next event that is coming up that has requested sponsorship is the Washington County Arts Council Community Art Exhibit. And that exhibit goes up in December, and it's a Community Choice Award of $1,500. And then the next one would be the Donut Drop, or the Donut Drive-By. And then I think nothing happens again until March. And, you know, I will say, there's a lot of unknowns even with events that are on the docket for March, right? Are we gonna have the St. Patrick's Run? I don't know what the winter's gonna bring, none of us do.
My basic feel on this is, it's kind of like the agency contributions. We should wait until we see what the budget impact's gonna be before we commit to funding anything.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
It's the right thing to do.
So if we take that direction, does that have an impact on the events actually occurring?
I guess it would depend when we come back to discuss it more, and I don't know when we'll have more information on the budget and what it looks like. I don't know if Michelle has any info on that or not.
Actually, I think what Councilmember Alshire was asking us is if we, at the city, at this point said we're not funding any sponsorships or events.
None?
Will the event then just not happen because we're not funding?
I think that the Community Art Award, I'm not sure what else funds that award. So it would be an exhibit without a monetary award. I'm not sure if the Arts Council has other funders that contribute to that. I don't think there's any event here that is so dependent on us that it couldn't happen in some capacity. It might, but that being said, they may be getting the same pushback, not pushback, but you know, the same response from other sponsors and funders who also are not in a position to say they're gonna do it. So it could be sort of a ripple effect. I don't know that, I'm just sort of guessing.
I'd like to get some information about Crumpy's Donut Drop. That's the next one coming, right, January 1. And that's much more of a community event.
And I can give you more information on that, if that's helpful.
Yes.
In terms of the financial repercussion and how that really looks out, you know, what that looks like. So they've requested 5 from the city, and they have a number of other pending sponsorship requests out there, at least at the time of when they had submitted. So from what they submitted, it looks like without city sponsorship, they would take a loss of $1,985. With the city sponsorship at $5,000, they would have a gain of $3,015. And if they had city sponsorship and all the other pending sponsorships, then they would have a nice little nest egg of $13,515. So
Where do the profits go?
it's a fundraiser for the Maryland Theater.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm inclined to want to commit to an amount that would make them whole if they need it. But not one that gives them $13,000. I'd like to see that donut drop happen. I see that as much more of a community event, like the July 4th celebration. But I think we've made it clear that we're not in the ability yet to start just giving money to people for their fundraisers. Giving money so that the event occurs is a different story.
Yeah, I guess that's where I'm coming from, is I'm trying to limit the impact of the rippling effect of the absence of events that the community's feeling. Like, I just feel like the more we can support things continuing to happen, the more return that we get from things continuing to happen.
And the other thing, we went through this last time in 2008 when the bubble burst and everybody suddenly became broke and had no money to do anything with. And the one thing we all committed to was public events. We couldn't stop them. Matter of fact, if we could do anything, we would increase them to supply a place for our citizens to have some free letting off steam. And so I certainly want to see that event take place.
Well, and I feel that same way about the community art exhibit. We are an arts and entertainment district, and they are very supportive of the city too. And if that's the only prize, I don't know how we
I
say,
agree.
no, we can't.
Yeah, I was gonna
Can't
chime
fund
in and
that.
advocate for that myself.
I agree,
because
I think, yeah, we
with
have 3 votes.
what the Arts Council does for the city and
Yes.
grants and things like that that they help to get, that have helped out tremendously on the arts trail. And that, I believe 1,500 is a small price to pay, to have for an award for somebody.
Would you all be good with just moving forward with the events from now through December 31st or
I
January
would.
1st in this
Yeah,
case?
I'm
Yeah.
And
good.
then revisit
That's
this
comfortable.
Yeah.
as we know more about what's gonna happen, because the next event's not till March.
And then let's see what's happening with the tour of Washington County bicycle thing, you know, as that comes.
So you're at $1,900 or whatever dollars for the donut drive-by.
The only other outstanding ones that are not really specific to one event is the BISFA. It's like an annual sponsorship that is sort of like for their whole, year-long series of things they do. And the library also gets one of those kind of sponsorships that supports multiple events throughout the year. So I'm not sure how much they would need before December or before January, if we could just revisit all that later.
I just feel like we would have enough of a pulse on events that are considered somewhat city-oriented, that staff would have an awareness of any event struggling to actually occur. We'd come in and say, hey, this event, it might not happen, and then I think the body has to make a decision to what degree it can aid in continuing to make that event happen.
So we're good with everything through December 31st.
Yes,
Yeah.
great,
Thank you.
perfect, thanks.
City Administrator.
Believe it or not, I don't have anything tonight, Mayor.
That is hard to believe. Mr. Alshire.
All right, I'm glad you didn't have nothing, because I have a lot of stuff. No, I'm kidding, I don't have anything.
I can't remember. I forgot my list.
Yeah, I have a lot of stuff, but, not tonight.
Not tonight. That's good.
Nothing tonight.
Luke,
I had about 45 minutes worth of stuff, but.
you're gonna pass on it? Okay.
I really do have something. Sorry, but not sorry.
Always one.
Always.
Taking up everybody else's, yeah, go ahead.
Well, you had said 5:20, so I have plenty of time.
Well, I've already altered that, so go ahead.
Okay. So I had the opportunity yesterday to go to the Skateboard Park Committee discussion. And, of course, the intention is to build a skateboard park here in our community. As we discussed here tonight, the obstacle is funding, right? It's always the obstacle to build something that's so exciting and amazing. So they have a plan, and one of their plans for funding is a skateboard art event that is going to happen at Cushwa this weekend. So Bustin' Boards, Ryan Daughtridge and Will Boyer, they have community artists, tattoo artists, BISFA students who have all created skateboards, and they're going to be auctioning off the skateboards and demos, and all of the proceeds and portions of Cushwa sales that day are actually going to fund this skate park. So I think that that's a tremendous community benefit, everyone pulling together for a common cause, and it's just, really inspiring. So they're doing a lot of hard work and a lot of big names and a lot of big auctions all across the nation. So anyway, thought I'd mention that, and it's from 12 to 7 at Cushwa this Saturday.
There you go, I was waiting on time.
There you go, 12 to 7.
12 to 7 on Saturday.
Yeah.
You have to be present to participate in the auction.
No, you don't. As a matter of fact, they're auctioning off and then the auction will be a couple days afterwards. And then they're making a coffee table book out of the skateboards and featuring the skate park opportunity and the skateboards. It's kind of neat. Anyway, yeah,
Is that it?
that's it.
All right. I don't have anything. Thank you. We'll see you next Tuesday.
Ooh, what you said.